Licensing is one of the most important aspects of starting a new business, particularly in the food and beverage industry. It can seem daunting, but that's why we're here. We've created the checklist below to help walk you through the different steps of certification and licensure you will need to take to make sure that you are building the correct foundation. While new members can operate under Union Kitchen's license at the beginning, many clients you will interact with, including retailers, distributors, investors, etc., have their own requirements around licensing. The reason for this is that requirements to obtain a license provide assurance that the producer, or you, is using safe practices not only for the people you are interacting with, but ultimately for the consumers. Why is this? Well, it's because the government is certifying your operation. To everyone else who sees your licenses and certifications, they understand that there is a regulatory authority who is saying that you are producing within the means of the law. Licensing is therefore your best opportunity to address liability head on and be sure you're operating above board on your production process. Furthermore, while Union Kitchen is largely responsible for making sure the space here at the kitchen is up to health code, members are ultimately required to file the necessary paperwork and are responsible for their own production practices being sound. In other words, you want to make sure that you have control of your liability, and the best way to do so is by going through licensing and certification processes, specifically the ones listed below. Finally, licensing also hits at the core value of build to last. You are building a foundation for your organization when you obtain a license and certification. It will provide the most solid infrastructure for you to grow your business upon. It's the foundation for your business. So let's dive in. On the checklist below, you will see a checklist progress bar. If you've worked through the other checklists before, you'll understand that this shows you, in terms of your progression, how close you are to getting to that final goal of receiving your basic business license, this space down here. Important to point out on this checklist is that we do specify that order does matter. Each step that you will see through here, and we'll walk you through, should be taken in the order that they are presented to make sure that you have the pieces for the next step. So, first we discuss registration completed with Delaware. If you have not registered with Delaware, you want to make sure that your business is established in some state, and that ultimately you are a recognized entity. For many Accelerator members, this starts with registering Delaware. See our other resources or talk with a member of the Union Kitchen team to discuss why Delaware. Let's check that off. The next step we'll want to take is registering with the FDA. FDA registration recognizes you as a federal producer. By clicking on the link on the checklist, it will bring you to this page, Registration of Food Facilities and Other Submissions. What do you need to do? Simple, create an account. As you go through this process, they'll take you through guides and tutorials on the different tools that they have, quick links to other resources you might want to reference, but all in all, it's a fairly simple process. On the checklist, you'll also see that we have the how to register with the FDA. This is incredibly helpful, as it's spelled out by the FDA on the best practice. Union Kitchen has made it simple for you to do here. But again, you'll be linked to create a new account through this how-to page, and we'll take you through the different steps. All right. So you've completed your registration with the FDA. We're all set there. The next step is obtaining a certificate of good standing. As you'll see, your certificate of good standing will be issued by the state you were originally incorporated in. The link here is provided by the state of Delaware because many of our Accelerator members will have already established their businesses in Delaware. If you are not established in Delaware, you'll want to go to your regulatory authority at the given state office that you have registered in and find out their process for receiving a certificate of good standing. Typically, the process is similar from state to state, so let's look at Delaware's process. By clicking on the certificate of good standing link, you'll be taken to this page here. Going through their process, select a priority. Typically, for processes that are 1 hour to 24 hours, you will incur an additional fee in requesting that document to be produced. Again, you would refer to the fee schedule if you want to see those charges. In speaking with the Delaware authorities, they suggest that if you choose a normal processing speed, it might take up to 4 weeks. So, if you're willing to save or willing to spend a few extra dollars, you can go for a same-day or 24-hour processing time. Beyond this, you'd input your name and basic information and explain to them what document type you're requesting. If you're looking for a certificate of good standing, you'd specify certificate of good standing. Explain your corporation name and follow the process. For our members in particular, in the type of certificate request information, you want to specify short form good standing. Again, they want you to provide incorporation date, taxes paid, and annual reports filed. These are additional options for you to add to your short form good standing in case any of the registering organizations require you to have that. If you can provide it, that's great. It's just additional information to have on the report. Ultimately, you'll hit continue and follow through the process there. So we've completed your certificate of good standing, and you've received that from the Delaware government or whichever government you have been registered with. The next step you want to take is registering with DC as a foreign entity. Now, foreign sounds like it's from another country, but really, what foreign means in this context is any operation that has not been registered by the DC government that hopes to register within DC. It's a recognition that you are joining the DC community as a business that will be operating here. By clicking on the Foreign Registration Statement link, you'll be taken to this page. This is the Foreign Registration Statement form, or the FN1. Again, much of this information is very basic, but as you will see in step 11 here, they ask you to attach an additional certificate of good standing or certificate of existence from the registration authority in the state, province, country of incorporation that is not over 90 days old. This is where that previous step of obtaining your certificate of good standing comes in. Again, you should follow each step in the checklist down to that point to make sure you are getting in the correct information at the correct time and you aren't stalled by having to wait for another document. DCRA also provides different guidance on how to fill out your foreign entity registration, and Union Kitchen has simplified that for you as well. By running through this sheet, we'll help you understand a little bit more about what it means to be registered in this capacity and what the easiest and quickest steps are to filling out this form. Great. So you've completed your foreign registration statement, or the FN1. And, as you can see, you've read the how-to on foreign entity registration in DC. From this step, you want to look into sales and use, and a sales and use exemption. This area here is particularly unique in that it deals primarily with you as a new registered organization in DC. Again, as you register as a foreign registration, as you complete your FN1, the information you receive here will go directly into this situation when you're filing your sales and use exemption. The difference between sales and use exemption is pretty simple. For sales and use, this is when you are looking to register yourself as someone who's allowed to provide resources or product directly to a consumer. For the sales and use exemption, this includes the space where you'd not be going directly to consumer, but would be selling to someone else who would then be selling your product to a consumer. This would be in deals with retailers, distributors, things along those lines. So let's dive into the sales and use form. To fill out your sales and use, again, by clicking the link here, sales and use, you'll be taken to this page. Just like you create an account on any other website, what they're asking you to do is sign up for your new business registration. You come down to the FR 500 and complete your new business registration form. Let's take a quick look at what this looks like. If you have any questions in going through this process, you should feel free to ask the Union Kitchen team. Again, though, this is pretty straightforward. For most of our businesses, they are limited liability companies, which you will find you will be required to provide your articles of organization. As you may remember, when you were establishing your business, your articles of organization were provided by the state of Delaware, and those will be available to you, hopefully, in your records. As you go through this process, you'll be either asked to fill out more forms or more questions. But again, if you have any questions about this process, please feel free to let the Union Kitchen team know, and we'd be happy to address them. You fill out your registration, and you'll be provided with a login for MyTaxDC, or dc.gov. You will usually see this line up here, but in MyTaxDC, you'll be provided a portal to sort through your business needs, specifically your tax needs. Through that portal, you would then go to this link for using the sales and use exemption sign-up. This guide here shows you how to request an exemption to file, or an FR 164. The first page you see here is the login to the portal on mytax.dc.gov. By inputting the username that you have from your previous experience in signing up with MyTaxDC, you'd be taken to their page where you'll be logged in and on your account. They will then take you to sales and use tax, and you'll be able to select the I want to option. From here, you'd be taken to an additional set of options to request an exemption and ultimately an exemption to file. You'd select exemption to file, and they will take you through the additional guidance on how to fill out your filing for an exemption. So you've completed all the steps up to this point. That's fantastic. Right now, you're at 43% progress. Next step you want to take is obtaining your Clean Hand Certificate. By clicking on the link here, you'll be taken to this page. You want to select Obtain Your Clean Hand Certificate by, again, clicking here. Before we do that, though, make sure you have this information. For any business being established, you want to have your FEIN. You'll be asked for this on the next page. Let's choose then the Obtain Your Clean Hand Certificate link. We would select EIN, provide your EIN, and then tax information. This is saying that you want to obtain your certificate by providing tax information. You can also provide profile information. Profile information may be a little bit easier because you can provide the business first filing date. They're looking specifically for when you first filed with DC. The reason this step comes after our sales and use exemption certificate or registration areas is because you'll put in the first filing date with DC specifically. So that means when you register back in MyTaxDC, you would put the date that you registered in the business first filing date section. Similarly, when you put zip code, if you're operating out of Union Kitchen, you would provide the zip code 20002. Finally, for a reason for applying, feel free to select other, or if you're going through contract approval, that's acceptable as well. You follow through the rest of the steps in the Clean Hands, and it's pretty straightforward. As you'll see at the bottom, they ask you to submit. It's a very short form, but one that is very important, and you want to make sure you have the previous steps taken care of before getting to this point and submitting your application for Clean Hands. The next step, as you'll see here, is a certificate of insurance. This is very unique, and you should ask the Union Kitchen team about a recommendation. There are many insurers out there. You want to make sure you're making the right choice. If you haven't gotten a certificate of insurance already, feel free to ask us, and we can provide you some recommendations. As you may have already experienced, another step in this process will be obtaining your Food Safety Manager license. This is an entirely separate process from the government initially, as they will be asking you to go through a site just like this one to sign up for a class, register, take the test, and use that test to then go back to the DC government. We won't take you too much through this page, but you'll see that you sign up for a class, select a time that's good for you, and then take the test. Once you've taken the test, there are 2 steps. The first step would have been registering for the class and taking the course. The second step, once you pass the test, is to bring the following items to the Food Safety and Hygiene Inspection Service Division office at this address. You'll want to bring your certificate from the ServSafe course, 2 forms of identification, and a $35 check made out to DC Treasurer. Once you've provided these resources to that office, you will be able to say that you have your Food Safety Manager's license. The next step in this process is obtaining your food manufacturer application. We would jump up to this page here by clicking that link. This brings you to the food manufacturer application to work from a shared kitchen space. In stepping through this form, many of the questions they are asking are pretty self-explanatory. Again, if you have any questions about these, please let the Union Kitchen team know. As you'll see in part of the process here on the page, a lot of what they ask for is the product information you're hoping to sell, the process itself, and then any additional information. Specifically, what they're hoping to obtain is more information about how your operation is going to work. Let's take a look at this example here. The producer was hoping to make sugar cookies. Again, the example here would be listed in this section, sugar cookies, as the food product submitted for review. Then they also ask for your method or methods of distribution and point of sale. This could be farmers markets, retail stores within the district, like at Union Kitchen, and other means along those lines. Then they'll ask you for the ingredients you're using. And finally, the step-by-step instructions on how you are packaging, not only producing, but packaging these goods. As you'll see at the bottom of this form, this is the room for you to provide your ingredients and your step-by-step instructions. What you will do once this form is complete is print this out and bring it to Union Kitchen so that we can sign it. We'll also conduct a review of your submission, so please feel free to bring any questions you have when you bring the form along. Part of what they'll ask for in that form, just to clarify, is a certificate of occupancy. You will see not only is there guidance here on renting from a shared kitchen space provided by the government, but the last of these resources provided in the checklist here is the Union Kitchen Certificate of Occupancy. Again, this is needed for your food manufacturer application. This is our Certificate of Occupancy. You'll want to print this out when you are filing that document. Once you've brought that to Union Kitchen for our review, you want to make sure that you schedule an inspection with the DC Department of Health, and that you notify Union Kitchen at least 72 hours in advance of inspection. This is incredibly important for us here at Union Kitchen to make sure that we can best address your needs in going through the inspection process. As you can imagine, we've gone through these processes dozens and dozens of times, and we want to make sure that we're doing you the best service. Please, again, make sure that our team here at Union Kitchen is aware when you have scheduled an inspection for at least 72 hours or 3 days in advance of the inspection. Finally, the last big step. You're ready to obtain your DC Basic Business License. If we take this link here, you'll be taken to the BBL-EZ form. It really is that easy. A lot of the information that they ask for here is very straightforward, but you want to make sure that it's all accurate and that you're as thorough as possible to be able to address all the questions that they have. As you will see, things like clean hands and other pieces of the process previously are included in this process. Pay close attention to the questions you're being asked, and make sure that you follow the directions ultimately here to be able to provide that application and be certified as best as you can. Again, part of what's required for the basic business license is that health inspection report, so it's important to follow these steps in order. Once you've gotten that inspection and you're ready to file your basic business license, you should go ahead and do so using that health inspection report and file that with the government. After that, you'll be all set. A couple additional resources we provide on the side are references for HACCP and variance information, and we can address this better at Union Kitchen in a discussion with you. You may be asked to build a HACCP plan and account for variance after they review your application. So let's chat. Reach out to Andrew or any of the Union Kitchen team. Finally, there's a list of fees here for applications in DC, which you can go to. Additionally, if you're registered in Delaware or another state, they will have fees, a list of fees that you can reference for processes like obtaining your certificate of good standing or getting any other documents you might find necessary from those states. All in all, again, this is an incredibly important process, but we promise that if you follow these steps, it will be much easier for you. Again, if we have any questions, please let us know. But good luck and Godspeed.